Welcome, everyone, and happy Father's Day. One of the lovely things about the ultimate, we say it's the union of wisdom and emptiness. Again, emptiness meaning empty of a separate self. And as much as we say wisdom is the great mother, skillful means is the great father. So the union of wisdom and skillful means is the purpose of our studies. And it's appropriate today that we're going to talk a little bit about how to use our study of the Heart Sutra as a skillful means to navigating our troubled times. And for inspiration today, I went to a really small book that I returned to over and over again. We actually spent 6 months on it a ways back. The Venerable Pema Chodron's Practicing Peace in a Time of War. And also I went to a commentary by Khandro Rinpoche on the Heart Sutra, and as always, inspiration from His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche. So if you've ever gotten an email from me, you'll see that under my signature, I always have this quote from His Holiness: all phenomena are interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So isn't that the teaching of the Heart Sutra? To really see that it is this interdependent interconnection that is the way things are, as opposed to our separate self standing aside and defending. So I thought today we might look at how our studies can penetrate the various shocks and how we responded to them that occurred this week. Pema's beautiful little book begins with the sentence, "War and peace start in the hearts of individuals." So we're going right to the source. War and peace start in the hearts of individuals like you and me. And if we examine that, knowing that in the Tibetan system, heart-mind is that expression of consciousness, that how we think about the information that our senses are taking in forms opinions and judgments and then determines action. That action we call karma, and how our collective karma is the fruition or what we're experiencing in this moment. So that if we wish a peaceful world, we have to look at what karma are we setting into motion in this moment that determines the next day, the next fruition, the next 1,000 years. So it's not a simple thing or an immediate thing, but it is a place to make a beginning. So I'm going to offer really where Her Eminence Khandro Rinpoche and Pema Chodron are essentially giving the same teaching for these kinds of moments, and then we'll go into a guided meditation. Khandro Rinpoche affirms and admonishes, you are responsible for your wonderful mind, which could see more thoroughly if you would only take time. Now, how do you give yourself more time, especially in a culture where speed is equated with cleverness, capability, and worthiness? There's only one way. Let yourself sit down, let yourself become quiet, let yourself be free of thoughts. then you will gradually understand that the world is better off for your stillness and silence, free from your modifications, elaborations, and particularly your expectation. Seeing emptiness makes you the kindest person, one who allows others to be as they are without suppositions, demands, and expectations. Non-interference, non-elaboration, and a gentle acceptance of things as they are, this is the perfection of absolute bodhicitta, the realization of the empty, impermanent nature of self and all phenomena. In the Mahayana, the realization of emptiness and absolute bodhicitta are the same. So this is a very clear instruction based on the Heart Sutra. And how do we use an instruction like this? So I'd like to invite you to sit up straight, take a few deep breaths. And let's just call to mind when we were affected by some aspect of the news that has been very unsettling this week. It could be the war starting in the Middle East. It could be the events in the US of violence. It could be changes that defy our expectations of what we think our country is, that cause dismay or aggression. So just call to mind one moment, one event. And watch how your heart-mind responds and how your body responds. You might feel a corresponding tightening, clenching somewhere in your body. You might find a corresponding uneasiness or restlessness. Just observe the response to the information as you experienced it. Now observe how you went from that feeling moment into thinking. Notice the speed. As soon as there's discomfort in the information that you were taking in or how it physically affected you, the discomfort immediately went to thinking, judging, creating opinions, creating defenses, irritation, aggression. Look at the speed and look at your response, and just observing with curiosity. You might have experienced an intense restlessness that had you searching 24-hour news and social media. You might have called friends and family. Now just observe how those actions made you feel. Did it intensify the uncomfortable energy? Did it relieve the uncomfortable energy? In many ways, these actions were habit responses. In fact, the thinking aspect, moving from taking in the information and having a mental and physical response, leads to habits of thinking, which lead to habits of acting. And in her book, Pema says, normally we want to get away from that uncomfortable feeling, and it seems reasonable to want to do so. And it would be reasonable, except for the fact that you may have noticed that it doesn't work. We've been trying the same way of getting comfortable for as long as we can remember, and yet our aggression or anxiety or restlessness, resentfulness, doesn't seem to get any less. And Pema's instruction is to stop right at that feeling, which she calls groundlessness, and develop an appetite for curiosity right in that moment of groundlessness. Pause and stay there in the space of insecurity. So let's investigate that a little further. Let's go right back to that same moment. You heard some news. If you can recall where you were sitting, you might be staring at a TV or radio or computer or phone. What is it like to pause right there and not act? Not elaborate in your thinking. Pausing right in that very uncomfortable moment of insecurity. Now, in the Heart Sutra, we've been studying how feelings are impermanent. This feeling state is impermanent. Watch it shift or dissolve and stay with it until it abates. Notice your habitual responses, judging, creating opinions, trying to arise, and they increase that feeling or create a new feeling of anxiety. So again, let those habitual thinking responses go. Let the feeling dissolve on its own, or at least lessen, and abide right there. You know from our studies, all these opinions and judgments are also just impermanent, insubstantial, illusory moments. So we don't have to go there. That feeling may arise over and over, and sit with it as long as it takes. Your discriminating mind and judging mind may be going, but, I have to think about this. Again, let go. Sit in that moment of uncomfortable insecurity and watch the resolution of anxiety into spaciousness. Now, this is difficult, and Pema went to her teacher. Just as I go to Pema's wisdom, Pema went to her teacher and said, why is this so hard? It feels like I'm sitting in a fire. And her teacher, Zigor Contral, said, because by not doing the habitual thing, you are burning up the seeds of aggression. We are burning up the seeds of aggression. Pema continues, every time we work in this way, it's not just a minor thing, it's an opportunity. We're given not only to connect with the inexpressible goodness of our minds and hearts, but to dissolve the aggression in the world. When we look at our interconnectedness, our interdependence, what is arising is a collective karma of our nations and of our world. And by not reacting in a way that adds to aggression, it's as though there's a bucket of aggression in the world and we're taking a spoon and emptying out some of the water. If we act thoughtlessly, anger, aggression, irritability, we are putting a drop of aggression back in that bucket. So this doesn't mean no action. It means settling into peace, seeing things as they are, without an expectation that it should be one way or another way, and being angry that it's not. Just seeing things as they are and looking to see what step reduces suffering, what step reduces aggression. Not taking sides, building justification, jumping into righteousness, but just looking through unbiased, unjudgmental eyes, things as they are, what reduces suffering. Okay, let's go back into the meditation again. Hearing information that was difficult and noticing the heart-mind response and the related physical response. Observing your mind, wanting to go into habits, but pausing rather than going into those habits. And resting there. Venerable Pema calls this compassionate abiding. Pema was asked by one of her students, what would it feel like to be a person who no longer has any aggression? And she responded, okay, this is not from direct experience, but I imagine such a person would be great company. If you dissolved your aggression, it would mean that other people wouldn't have to walk on eggshells around you, worried that something they might say would offend you. You'd be an accessible, genuine person. And she said the awakened people that she had been around are all very playful, curious, and unthreatened by things. They go into situations with their eyes and hearts wide open. They have a real appetite for life instead of an appetite for aggression. They are not afraid to be insecure. And we might even shorten it, they are not afraid. So, how might we go forward being curious, unafraid, and not adding aggression by being at home and at peace before we act, seeing clearly as we act? I know it's been a difficult week, so with the question of how might you use these instructions coming from this wisdom tradition, how did it feel to you to experiment with them today? Oh my goodness, I have to find it again. I go into meditation and then I forget. I forget how to do technical things. So I'm creating the breakout rooms so that you can discuss. And even if you don't feel so much about expressing, you can listen compassionately. For those people watching it later on YouTube, we'll close the teaching today with a dedication so that people have a private discussion after the breakout rooms. And I encourage you to practice this compassionate abiding. Bodhicitta, excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher.